Morning, Carl.
Good morning, Rich. How you doing?
I'm doing great. We need to get this COVID out of here.
What a mess.
I've never seen anything like it.
No, I was anecdotally, I was riding down Divine Street Sunday night. I was actually going to the women's basketball game. So it's about 5:15 or something like that. And I was like, there's so many cars on Divine Street just parked. What's going on? It was that roll-up testing site near 5 Points. And there were probably 75 cars at 5:30 on a Sunday night. And then you see the mayhem on Bull Street. Woo!
Well, we chart the new cases every day by county, and we thought September was bad. September's nothing.
Oh, drop in the bucket.
Nothing. I mean, yesterday,
13,000.
Yeah, Richland County yesterday,
Led
2,554.
Led the state.
Or excuse me, that was 1578. Richland plus Lex is 2,554.
Yeah, it's
not good.
Hopefully this spike. The experts have been pretty good on predictions, so hopefully this be over with by February. Sorry, the distractions of being on the first floor of the building when fire trucks go by. I'm still like a kid. I got to look at them. My apologies. All right, it's 9 o'clock. Happy 2022. Thanks for joining us today. I actually missed y'all. It's been a while. So thanks for tuning in, and hope everybody had a good Christmas. Hope everybody had a good New Year's, and we welcome to the longest year of the year. What does somebody say? January is it is just unbelievably a long month. I'm trying to think of the quote, but it was January is always the longest year of the month. There's whatever it is, it feels like we're talking about a windstorm on Sunday night, and it feels like it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. But what a week. I mean, we had 60-mile-an-hour winds. We've had spike cases. We've had 10 earthquakes in 2 weeks. Woo! If that doesn't get you biblical, I don't know what does, quite frankly. But anyway, hopefully we'll settle down next week. Says nobody when they know that legislative session starts next week. But anyway, let's go recap right quick, and then I'm gonna open it up for y'all. All right, but it really was a big week. Take Mother Nature out of it. Obviously, the inauguration of the mayor was the big news of this week, and I was impressed on a couple fronts. I'll tell you what. One, the city did a remarkably nice job moving it from indoors to outdoors, from a 4 o'clock to a 3 o'clock, and there were still tons of people there, which was nice. But most importantly, the energy in the air was really contagious and very, very positive from all the new members of council, which you would expect. I'm not saying they'd be negative at all, but there was a vibe in the crowd. Excuse me, really folks being excited. Excuse me, really excited about the new administration, but also a positive message of which of course we like here at the chamber, which is we're open for business. And I think that we'll share and spread, and hopefully I think some of the red tape that the city has in place, hopefully some of that will get cut out, but I'm really optimistic on the next 4 years. So congratulations to the new members of council. That's great. Same with Richland County. They had the first meeting on Tuesday night. They elected new leadership with Overture Walker as chair, and with Jessica Mackey as the vice chair. You've got young Turks, right? I mean, they're some young folks. Anybody younger than me is young, by the way. And I really appreciate Overture's approach to to council. He has been very open with me, and we've had great conversations. And he's willing to listen and learn, which that's all you can ask for. So wish him well in leading the council for Richland County, and Daniel for his approach on city. So all good stuff there. Had a fascinating conversation on Tuesday morning with Micah Caskey and Todd Rutherford on our issues committee. We did have to go hybrid. So for those that tuned in, thanks for being there on Tuesday morning. It was actually wasn't kind of, it was a lot of fun for me, because I do respect those guys immensely. They're two of the most irreverent guys at the State House, which I mean in a very positive, and I meant that as a compliment to those guys, because they don't mince many words. If you talk to them, they're pretty direct. Ask Todd what his first business item he wants to see done is medical marijuana. That's not typically what you start with a business organization, just FYI, but he did. And so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, great conversation on a couple of fronts. One, as you know, many of y'all, I am a State House rat, so I live and breathe that stuff. But we're in this weird purgatory year where the House and all the constitutional officers are up for election, and the Senate gets to take a pass, and they kind of just keep it on. So add that, and the Senate this year has got a leadership change with Senator Leatherman's passing. It has all the makings of a great train wreck, and we're going to be sitting around watching this thing for months on end. But it's like any other soap opera that just has to play out. But we'll see some twists and turns in the session. But the takeaways are this: one, don't expect a whole lot. There's $5 billion. We've talked about this in here. $5 billion of one-time money coming down the pipe. And the biggest fight you'll ever see at the State House, behind closed doors, and it will spill over a little bit, is on spending money. And when there's no money to spend, there's no fights. When there's a lot of money, there's a lot of fights. So expect some not physical bruising, but we'll have some battles going on at the State House this year over funding. One of the biggest, and one of the topics we have with Micah and Todd, is we've got federal dollars coming down as well. And so the infrastructure bill that the president has pushed for and was able to get, the caveat for us in South Carolina is, if we're going to get $4 billion of federal dollars, we have to put up $1 billion. So we've got to put up 20% of them for quote unquote matching dollars. Well, $200 million a year for 5 years, billion, that's a lot of money. And so what does that mean for us? How are we able to prioritize that funding dollars? Two, how do we find the people to do the work? We still haven't spent all the penny with the gas tax increases that we passed 3 years ago. We can't find enough contractors to do all that work. So we've got to figure out, talking to some high schools and to colleges, to say, hey, we need people in the road construction business, because we certainly need it, especially in South Carolina. But I do think it's a worthwhile endeavor to spend $200 million to get $1 billion a year. That's good math any which way you look at it. But it is going to mean that we need to prioritize that in the state budget. But I think Todd and Micah both agreed, yes, we could use it, but Micah was clear to point out that we've got to put in some protections at the state level on quality control. You look at I-20 was delayed for another extra 10 months because of some poor construction. So I think he's right about that. I mean, I think that's a prudent way of looking at it, is, look, let's spend the dollars. No question, we've got to spend it. But don't forget to look at the back end, because we've had 2 projects through, well, we've had extension of 26 going out down to Charleston. We've had I-20 that's both been delayed by almost a year each because of poor construction. And we're in the midst of the largest infrastructure project in the history of South Carolina with Malfunction Junction, Carolina Crossroads, whatever. But we've got to make sure that the taxpayers' interests are there, and that we're prudent in the way we spend money. So appreciate Micah's take on that, and appreciate Todd, both of them getting up early. Todd nor Micah they'd rather be in person because they talk a lot and they're fun. But we switched it to a Zoom just out of precaution this week, and I appreciate them working with us on there. All right. So that leaves us with the state stuff. I'm not even touching the national stuff this week. We'll just let that be there. State news. I'm kind of shocked in a way, but John Warren not running for governor on the Republican side. He had spent a ton of money over the last few years in some elections to change the outcomes, mainly in Kershaw County and Myrtle Beach and in Charleston. He spent a ton of cash. So for him to not run, I think it shows he's done some polling, and it's going to be tough to beat McMaster in a primary. But it does give him a pass in the primary, and you still got two Democrats that have announced they're going to run for governor. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens in the next several months. Filing starts in March around March 15th. So we'll see what transpires in the next 2.5, 3 months. But it looks like Henry gets a pass. All right. Otherwise, on the state stuff, big fight going on since we last talked on congressional lines being drawn. The House has passed a plan. They've gone back to redo it. The Senate is redoing their plan for congressional lines being drawn. I'll be honest with you, it's inside baseball. I mean, it's glass-eyed for a lot of people, but it boils down to this. It's really a fight amongst the Democrats. Even though Republicans have control and the vote, but the lines are really worked out in the committees and all, and it's who gets percentage of what vote, especially African-American votes. And the lines were heavily drawn towards African-American voters in the 6th congressional district, which is my neighbor, Jim Clyburn. But some other Democrats wanted more Democrats in their seats and areas, and not just segregated to one congressional district. So again, inside baseball, you're going to hear more about that next week, but those lines have got to be drawn quickly. And that'll be the first thing up next week in both the House and the Senate, is getting congressional lines drawn, because you got to give time for a lawsuit and going through the courts. And then you have, again, filing that starts in March for those seats. So, all right, I'll leave that there because I know most sane people don't really care about that stuff. All right, what do y'all got? Listen, we've had a busy week. We're going to be, just for some housekeeping, these numbers that Rich and I were talking about from the beginning, 13,000 cases yesterday in state. Richland County is leading it. We're going to take a little bit of precaution over the next couple of weeks and do some hybrid meetings. So sorry if we're throwing people for a wrench, but I think that's what's being prudent these days. So we'll be keep a track. If you're coming to a chamber event, just look for social media and stuff. We'll probably have stuff, but we'll social distance, but we'll also have some opportunity to be virtual as well. So what y'all got on your mind? What's been happening with y'all house business since Christmas, or since we last met in middle of December? By the way, I took 2 weeks off. I've never taken 2 weeks off before in my life. I could get used to it. It's fairly nice. So I hated that. I missed y'all, but it's good to be back. All right, what you hearing? We're going to do a coffee break and then we'll call on people.
Carl, one of the things that I keep seeing more and more of is all of this cryptocurrency and NFTs and platforms for doing transactions. I think it's interesting to see how much the cryptocurrency is just catching on and becoming more and more a part of everyday life. What concerns me is that it's almost like fun money, and people who invested maybe $1,000 when Bitcoin first came out have quite a bit just based on that, and so it's easy to spend. But that whole marketplace is going to be interesting to see. GameStop, for example, is sort of changing what they do and becoming a platform for blockchain and transactions and NFTs. So it'll be something to keep an eye on this year.
How is that impacting this to everyday business? It really is not yet, correct?
Well, actually, it can be. There are some companies where they have huge investments on their balance sheets in cryptocurrency. So what they're going to do with it ultimately, I don't know for sure, but there are a lot of companies that do that because blockchain is becoming more sophisticated, where they're able to actually create contracts and do legitimate business transactions on the blockchain technology using their cryptocurrency. So it'll become more and more of a way of doing business, I think. And even in real estate, people are starting to use it to buy homes.
Interesting. I got to tell you, I'm not there yet. I could be.
I'm not either.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Interesting. We'll keep an eye. That'll be fun to watch. What else is going on with anybody? Travis, how are things with you in the new year?
It's great. I did the same thing as you did. Did something I hadn't done in a long time, as I took off 2 weeks. I can't say that I didn't have to do some work during that time because we had some things going on here and there, but with the rise of virus, and I think everybody's seeing this. I've heard it from all businesses, but I mean, this is a real contagious virus. So as far as all of our staff have experienced that more than any of the other waves. But we're also seeing that people's symptoms are, I think, going away quicker, or they're having even less symptoms at all. And then on a positive note, I'm real excited that we were able to purchase the building across the street right behind Mass General. And if you ride down Taylor Street, you'll see that little building on the end looks so much better. We've redone the outside, painted beautiful colors. The inside looks great. And we just had lettering put on our windows yesterday. And the windows say this: men and women's boutique with a purpose. That's what it says, real large on the window. And so that's kind of like a teaser. I'm actually going to send a teaser out on social media today. We're just going to repurpose that building, and what we're looking for, if you're wanting to know, hey, what can I do? You can donate your high-end clothes that you're tired of wearing, not your worn out ones, the ones that still look nice. And we're going to repurpose that and sell them to the community. And we're going to have art in there from some of the best artists in town, and create a lot of partnerships, and really make that corner something new. So
awesome. I can't wait to see the new building. All right, what else? You got anything else?
Carl, this is Richard Buzard.
Hey, Richard.
I've been tracking this 2021 Nonprofit Energy Efficiency Act. So and I know there's a number of organizations, the Oliver Gospel Mission, potentially private schools, church organizations, religious institutions, any kind of nonprofit, but I've got some material on that. I'm tracking it. I'm on some distribution lists. So if some people want to get on to start learning about that, they can get in touch with me and I can send this to them, and then I'll keep them, up to date on things. What it is, it's a $50 million set aside as part of the infrastructure bill that the president signed. So $10 million a year, where nonprofits can apply for grants of up to $200,000 for energy efficiency materials. I'm trying to find out if that includes the cost of labor for installation and construction. But I mean, competition's going to be tight, but it could be a very good deal for some people.
Hey, just Richard, thanks. Put your contact information in the chat, if you don't mind. For those that want to connect, y'all can connect.
Okay, I will do that.
Great. Craig, you've got inclement weather center ready to go.
We've been open, Carl, through the last week or so. December was kind of mild, which was nice. November was cold. We'll see how January, we expect January to be very cold. The highest we've had is 117 folks, men and women. And I'd share with folks that it's kind of interesting as the temperature drops and stays down, suddenly the numbers go up 30, 50 people. And you got to kind of always wonder, where are these folks on other nights when it's, maybe 40 or 39, but we get down in the low 30s, the 20s, and all of a sudden more people show up. And it's always a frustration to our team and partners about, where are these folks and how do we help them? Because they kind of only show up when it gets really cold. So, pray for the folks. It's going well. Travis's point about, COVID is always a concern. We want to keep staff going where we can keep things. We've had some staff members get sick as well. And of course, that hurts us in times of providing services. So let's pray that folks stay healthy. And we're trying to do all the social distancing things and all that, mask and everything. But it is contagious. And really, people aren't getting it at work. They're getting it at home. They're getting it over Christmas at, sitting around the table with Uncle Fred. So we'll see how it all goes. But 117 is the high, 140 was the highest last year. And we'll see how we get here as January progresses.
Well, let me tell you, to that front, we need to be thinking in this new year of thinking of others and recognizing that 2022, we're all going to need a lot of patience this year. One, because of COVID, but just because we need to practice patience. But secondly, our hospital staff, our school teachers, administrators, they need some love. So they working really, really hard, and the hospitalizations are up. The testing workers, goodness gracious, they're working hard. So think of them, and if you have the opportunity to thank them, I'm sure you can't do it enough, especially those teachers as we go back to school. Because the good news is, if we follow the trend in other places, Omicron will be hopefully in our rearview mirror sometime in February, which would be great. But the next few weeks are going to be long. So we need to make sure that we as Meg said and tweet, get vaccinated, get boosted, wear a mask. And I always say, drive in the right lane. So those 4 things are the rule of thumbs for everybody for the next, well, always in the right lane, but for the next little bit, make sure we be safe. All right, listen, we're going to wrap up. Thanks so much for being with us today. Good to see your faces in 2022, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week. And if you have anything for us, if you need something from the chamber, don't hesitate to give us a buzz. All right, y'all have a good weekend, and see you next week.